So guys, welcome back to another video. Do you know this guy, called Isaac, who started his YouTube channel a few months ago, and hit over 100,000 views in less than a week, and finally got monetized after 1 month? In this video he will explain how he did it, and how you can use the same method to grow your YouTube channel as well. Watch till the end.
Weeks ago, I uploaded my first video on this channel. Today, it has 10% click-through rate, 50% retention, and over 10,000 views. Now it's time to show how you can do that yourself.
I'm making 3 videos. Maybe I'm just making them on my phone and speaking to the camera and uploading them to a new YouTube channel.
Aiming to make between 25 and 50 videos.
I think you have to make a certain amount of videos before you find your niche.
This is terrible advice. I mean, it's the way to go if you know nothing about YouTube, don't get me wrong. But if you already have a channel, decent knowledge about editing videos, thumbnails, things like that, and you want to take the next step or start a new channel, publishing consistently or putting out a random video without any planning is the worst thing to do. It would work 2 years ago since the algorithm wasn't pushing our first video anyways. But now, that just means wasting your biggest chance to grow. You can completely blow up right in your first video, like this channel, and this, and many more. Well, how to do that? What makes a video blow up? Obviously, you can't use the regular way for this. You need to choose the extreme way. Although the YouTube algorithm has changed a lot, it still wants just 2 things: make people click and make people watch. So basically, you need a good video idea, good title and thumbnail, good editing, and a good story. You must spend as much time as you can on each of these to make a video that connects with your audience. First, you have to learn this one, because what's the point of making people click if your video isn't worth watching for them? You need to master the skill of getting people's retention before getting them to click on your video. So let's get started. I'm gonna be honest, before starting this channel, I had no idea how to use a story in my videos. I watched tons of explainers about that. Everyone was talking about storytelling, how important it is and all that. But nobody was telling how I should actually use it in my video. Every video just told, okay, if you want more retention, you should tell a story. It must have a beginning, middle, and end. That's it. But this formula is just too broad to actually use with no experience. How am I going to start the story? What should I include in the middle? What about the ending? But what if the storytelling is easier than you think? So I started searching for something else. And one day I came across this graph. This is the strategy that almost every successful channel is using. The best part is, no matter your niche, you can use it in your video. And it's simpler than it looks. If you fill all the gaps, you get a perfect storyline for your video. And if you master this technique, people will watch longer, and this number will go up. So I decided to give it a try. Made this video and published on this brand new channel. Let me show you how it works. Well, as you can see, it's a cycle. The journey begins and ends on this side, called the ordinary world. But to reach the end, you should go through a special world. There are 12 points you need to pass along the way. To explain each step, I'll take my favorite animation, How to Train Your Dragon, as an example. But the same thing applies to almost all movies and YouTube videos you've seen. If you give your full attention and apply this method in your next video, that will make people care about it and watch way longer. Anyways, here's how this movie did it using that formula.
But you gotta focus.
Status quo. We see the Viking island, a community of warriors led by this guy, and our main character, Hiccup, a small Viking who struggles to fit in. So you should introduce your main character here. Easy peasy, right? Moving on. Call to adventure. A dragon called Night Fury attacks the Viking island. Hiccup wants to prove himself to his dad and decides to hunt down that dragon. You should briefly explain why you're doing this video, and maybe show them what's to come. Assistance. But one day, he sees Night Fury in a forest and discovers that dragons aren't the monsters they believe. It wouldn't be interesting to watch if your character knows everything from the beginning, so it's nice to add someone more experienced or a source of knowledge to the story for help. Departure. Hiccup decides to go against the Vikings, and instead of fighting with them, he tries to understand dragons. That's the breaking point of the journey, where you step into the unknown, start the challenge, or whatever your video is about. The adventure starts. Trials. He tries to convince his father and the rest of the Vikings who still see dragons as enemies, but they don't listen to him. These are some barriers that separates you on your way to the video's main goal. Just add some spice and action to the story. Approach. Here, you may show a teaser of the biggest threat in your video. While hanging out with his friend, Hiccup discovers a gigantic dragon that controls all the other dragons. Crisis. The Vikings learn that and go for a fight with it, but they underestimate its power and almost lose it all. This is the darkest point of the story. Your character faces the biggest challenge and gets defeated so badly, but then he finds something. Hiccup realizes that they can't defeat this thing without joining the force between humans and dragons. For your video, this treasure can be a new idea, a motivation, or support from a friend. Result: with that treasure, you overcome the crisis and achieve your goal for the video. The Vikings use dragons to defeat the big guy. Return. After all that crazy adventure, it's time to return to the ordinary world. You can either bring all that treasure with you or lose it all along the way. In the movie, they manage to defeat the giant, but Hiccup gets injured in the process. New life. As you can understand from the name, your character should have some kind of new life at this point. Maybe he went from poor to rich, unhealthy to fit, and so on. Hiccup survives, but the battle leaves him with a prosthetic leg. The Vikings celebrate their victory, and dragons are accepted as part of their community. Resolution: Hiccup becomes a hero in the eyes of the Vikings. They now understand the value of living with dragons. Status quo: everyone adopts a new way of life, where Vikings and dragons live side by side, leading to a brighter future for the island. Well done. Now all you need to do is just fill the gaps yourself and come up with your own storyline for your next video. I made a printable version of this chart to help you plan your stories even better. It's completely free. You can download it in description. One last tip for filling the gaps is just ask yourself, what do you have in common with this guy? Well, you're human, right? Just like him. You can leave your comfort zone, have an experience, and transform into a different person. Of course, you probably don't fight with literal enemies, but every experience is worth a story.
So if you really want to grow your channel with the golden formula, all you need is to go down on your screen and tap on the subscribe button, because I am coming up with more videos that will help to grow your channel and make it a success. The choice is yours. Subscribe now. New video coming up soon.